So I'm going to show you all the things you're going to need. These are the mushrooms here marinating, but we'll talk about that in a second. I want to give you guys some advice. I advise you guys to go to an Asian store, Asian market, because I got all these oyster mushrooms. There's a big 3 bunches of them. Child, look at the price. $4.99 exactly. You're gonna pay at least $20 or more at a farmer's market or anything like that. Even Whole Foods, these are very expensive, and they're really good quality at the Asian store, so I highly recommend that. But you're gonna need some plant milk. I'm using milk, the oat milk. Okay, I like using oat milk more, whatever. You're gonna need some Worcestershire. Okay, don't judge me for the Laries. Okay, God is trying to deliver me. But if you want to do something healthier, I recommend like sea salt or pink Himalayan. You're definitely gonna need some oil. I recommend using grapeseed oil. It's a lot better for you as far as digestion goes. You're gonna need some not chicken bouillons. You can get these now from Whole Foods. You get these from Sprouts, okay? They have them on Amazon. You're gonna need liquid smoke. Now this is not a necessity. This is just an add-on, okay? You're gonna need some onion powder, some kind of everything seasoning. You're going to need some paprika, some garlic powder, some poultry seasoning. Now poultry seasoning does not have any meat in it, so just so you guys know. You're gonna need some pepper. I would like fresh ground pepper. I think it tastes better. And I suggest some Creole seasoning, okay? Now these are all the things that I use. You can sub out some of these seasonings if it's too much or too spicy, or if you want to add more heat or whatever, but we're gonna get right into it. And then lastly, you're gonna need some mustard. Not a lot, just a little bit, okay? So the first thing you guys are wanting to do is marinate your oyster mushrooms. Now a lot of people don't just marinate it, they just stick it in this type of mixture and then they put it in flour and kind of double dip, which is cool and all, but sometimes oyster mushrooms have a bit of a snap to it, so it won't be as authentic, I would say, to mock chicken. You know, like if you're trying to trick your kids or something, you're not going to be able to do that if you don't go with this. This has been marinated for 4 hours, okay? There you go. I mean, you could marinate it overnight, whatever. So what I put in there was 2 of these not chicken bouillons inside that mixture. I put about a tablespoon of the no salt seasoning, or the everything seasoning, I guess. I put a dash of this. Like, when I mean a dash, I will show you guys because I don't want you guys to get this wrong. I always pour some in the cap and I will just literally pour out how much I did. That's it. Okay, don't pour any more. There's like no measurement for that. It's too little. But if you add too much of this, it's gonna give it like a barbecue-y, hot off the grill type of taste, and you don't really want that for this. You just want it to taste like meat. I added about a tablespoon of onion powder, about a teaspoon of some garlic salt, 2 tablespoons of yellow mustard. Now with this milk, okay, the oat milk here that we have, I only added to where the bag stopped. You see where the oysters stop? So just that way it's soaked just enough, but not too much. I added between like 2 teaspoons, I would say, about Creole seasoning, a tablespoon of the poultry seasoning, a tablespoon of pepper because Alden loves that. This also was about a tablespoon. I added about 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire. And lastly, the paprika, I added about a tablespoon of this, and this is what the mixture looks like. So it's a little brown, which is okay. You know, everything is mixed up in here, and so the oysters are ready to go. So now we're gonna turn on a pot. You want something like this, okay? Like a little spaghetti pot or something like that. And the reason why, if you're doing it on the stove, I mean, you could do this in an air fryer or anything like that, but when it's on the stove, it's a lot easier to work with. So I'm gonna just fill up this with grapeseed oil. I mean, I recommend you do this with the fire off, but I like to live dangerously, so, you know, don't do what I do, do as I say type of thing. That should be good. I always leave some space. I never want to fill it to the top. Very important. And before we start these, we want to take them out. Before we fry these, we want to take them out for a little while. So you want to have these out of the fridge for about 15 to 20 minutes, because if they are too cold and you put them in your oil, your temperature from your oil will drop, and that will create a problem, and they probably won't get cooked all the way through, etc. Now we're gonna make a dredging. So like the flour mixture that we're gonna go ahead and dunk these into, okay? I'm gonna use regular all-purpose flour for this. If you wanna do something healthier, I recommend using like a spelt flour. That'll definitely help, but I mean, if you just want, you're learning for transition purposes, then this is okay. So we're gonna take about a cup of flour and throw that in. Sorry, I got flour all over my arm. I am the messy cook. Everybody knows that about me. Okay, after you pour your 1 cup of flour in here, again, spelt flour if you're trying to be healthier, if you're trying to transition, that's like the better one that I recommend. Even almond flour would be great. I'm gonna go ahead into this cornstarch here, and I'm going to add about a half a cup. I'm not gonna add a full, some people do equal, oh, I told you I'm the messy chef, okay? Some people do equal parts cornstarch, but no, that's too much. Now I'm going to add some nutritional yeast, about a tablespoon and a half to 2, a tablespoon of onion powder, Creole seasoning, about a tablespoon of this, a tablespoon of paprika. And that's how we fry our chicken, is with paprika, you know. If you want something spicier, you guys can use cayenne, tablespoon of garlic powder, and some fresh cracked pepper. I'm doing a tablespoon because Alden likes it, but if you're using fresh cracked, I do not recommend that much. Maybe like 2 teaspoons, and then that should be fine. And then you want to give this a stir up. Make sure that all the seasonings are combined. I'm gonna add a little more Creole, about a tablespoon, because as I'm mixing, child, I don't see it, okay? So before you fry, you know, I don't know if you guys know this, okay, but you want some paper towel or something and a plate just to help absorb, or you could get a rack. I'm actually gonna put my rack over this, and I will show you guys what that looks like so they can remain crispy yet still drip. Okay, so you can see the rack now, and the plate is underneath that, so then they'll be able to drip down, still keep their texture. And we're gonna get started on this. I'm not gonna use all these oyster mushrooms because it is a lot, but as I stated before, I got this bunch, okay, you can see how huge that is, and I got this bunch here, all of those for the $4. Now if you wanted to, you can leave the oyster mushroom just like this, okay? You can leave it in its entirety and you can cook it like this. I don't prefer that, so I'm gonna break these up. And you can kind of see already, it kind of has that texture of chicken. I'm just gonna fry them like this. So they were already wet. We tossed them in the flour. I have to reheat up my oil. Here's another batch. Again, just toss them in the flour mixture that we have. This is a perfect meal for the kids. Like, kids don't know the difference, especially young children. They won't know the difference because the flavor profile gives chicken. Okay, it's giving very much chicken, very much poultry. Okay, so we're gonna switch over to the oil now that those are ready to go. Okay, we have our grapeseed oil on. I'm gonna just flip everything in the flour one more time just to make sure that everything is coated evenly, you know, and we're just gonna go right in. All that noise is normal. I want you guys to know that. Mushrooms carry a high water content. So, you know, water and oil, when you put it together, you're gonna get a sound like this. So don't be alarmed or don't freak out. It is normal. You can see the oyster mushroom browning back here. Okay, so I made a mistake. I completely forgot to add baking powder to my flour. You know, things like this happen all the time. So, you know, if you're a cook, you know you forget things, your ingredients and stuff like that. So these aren't gonna be as crisp up as I like them to be. As you guys can see, it kind of still kept the same shape. But let me show you with another one, okay, that has baking powder that will crisp up. So you're gonna end up cooking these for about 3 to 4 minutes, something along those lines. And that's like the perfect time that you need, depending on how high your oil is, of course. You guys can also double dip the mushrooms. You take the mushroom out, you go ahead and throw it in the flour mixture, and then you just put it back in the bag of juice, or I should say marinade, and then you just throw it back here. And that'll give it more of a breading. So it's up to you how much you want to put. I am trying to make it a little healthier for you guys, so we're not using too much flour and cornstarch. Okay, here are the cooked oyster mushrooms. This is what they look like. So I'm gonna add a little more seasoning, just a little bit of Lawry's, okay? Now, y'all don't have to do that, okay? That's being extra, and that's doing the most. So, you know, because we want to have a healthy dinner, we want to have a balanced meal, I'm going to show you guys how I make my asparagus with this so you guys can have a full meal. You guys can have the mac and cheese, the oyster mushrooms, and some asparagus, okay? So now we got the asparagus, okay? It's freshly washed. We're going to go ahead and just cut that asparagus down to about right there, okay? And this is going to be trash, or you guys can put this in your garden, I think. Okay, so I turned the pot on. Now we're gonna go ahead and get some grapeseed oil. Okay, you don't need that much. Like, that's like a good tablespoon and a half, okay? We wanna let the oil in the pan get hot. Okay, now that the pan is warm, we're just gonna throw in the asparagus. Very, very simple. Medium high heat. Okay, so asparagus cooks very fast, and as you see, it's turning color. We're seeing like this one here is very green, etc. Right? What we're gonna do is take some of this minced garlic. You can chop fresh garlic if you want. It's up to you. But we're gonna add some in. So I like to add about 2 tablespoons of garlic to mine per bunch. And then I kind of roll the garlic around. Just make sure the garlic kind of coats everything so it's all getting the flavor, right? Then next, we're gonna take a whole lemon and squeeze the entire juice over those. And now they're sizzling, not cracking anymore. So again, you just want to kind of, you know, let them marry each other. This is my favorite way to eat asparagus. You know, you guys should try it. And now I'm going to take some pink Himalayan salt and literally sprinkle just a little bit. You saw that? That was an ancestor shimmy. You do not want to put too much salt in this, but it'll help balance the flavors from the garlic. You have the savory, you have the acid, okay, and a little salt to bring out those natural flavors. And you let it cook like this probably for the next 30 seconds to a minute, and seriously, you are done. And there you have it, your asparagus is done. You can go ahead and turn it off and enjoy. So now let's show you a completed full meal. I made mac and cheese already. We have the asparagus and the chicken. Okay, Alden's gonna taste the chicken. All right. Be honest.
Well, I can't curse. So
I've made it before, so
that's really good. It's better than the last time.
Thank you. Does it taste like chicken?
Yeah, it's crispy too.
I'm glad you like it. There you have it, folks. Okay, now y'all gotta go because y'all can't be all up in the refrigerator, the business.